All right, let's jump straight into it. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to break down the latest sports science and equipment research. We're looking at exactly why the modern game of tennis has completely 100% evolved past robotic repetition. If you've ever felt totally stuck in your development, or you've watched the pros and wondered how on earth are they hitting these impossible physics-defying shots on a dead run, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into the exact frameworks that are literally reshaping elite performance. So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The end of robot tennis. 2. Dynamic systems theory explained. 3. The modern aggressive hybrid. 4. The mechanics of hybrid strings. And 5. Building multidimensional court performance. Starting off with Section 1. The end of robot tennis. Moving past perfect repetition. Okay, so for decades, right, coaches tried to train players like literal machines. They were forcing them to hit the exact same stroke thousands and thousands of times. This traditional approach relies on what sports scientists call closed skills, basically hitting a ball fed to the exact same strike zone over and over again, demanding absolute strict biomechanical perfection. But let's be real, a tennis match isn't some controlled laboratory. It is absolute chaos out there. You're dealing with swirling wind, weird court surfaces, nasty spins, and an opponent who is actively trying to ruin your balance. Rigid, closed-skill training is practically useless when you're stretching wide on the dead run and the ball just kicks right up at your throat. The modern game absolutely demands dynamic problem solving. Your body has to learn how to react instantly to a totally unpredictable environment instead of just trying to violently replicate a perfectly programmed robotic swing. Let's move right into Section 2, Dynamic Systems Theory Explained, the Science of Adaptability. Dynamic Systems Theory, or DST, is this incredibly fascinating framework that is completely upending traditional sports science. It basically states that the human body, the environment, and the task at hand are all constantly shifting, interacting systems. Because these variables are literally never the exact same twice, DST proves that perfect repetition is, well, it's a total myth. Think about that for a second. Even Roger Federer never hits the exact same forehand twice. True athleticism is actually your nervous system's ability to constantly self-organize. When a ball is rocketing at you, your brain and muscles must instantaneously adapt to the crazy microvariables of that specific fraction of a second. You're adjusting wrist lag, tweaking foot placement, altering torque, all just to achieve the desired outcome. It's all about successful, real-time adaptation. You have to trust your kinetic chain to solve a wildly complex physical equation in just milliseconds. And Miguel Crespo's research totally hits the nail on the head here. He argues that we have to abandon the search for the perfect, isolated stroke and instead favor movement variability. Honestly, think about how incredibly liberating that is for your game. Your goal is no longer to look perfectly like some textbook diagram. Your goal is to cultivate movement variability. By training your body from really awkward positions, bizarre stances, and totally varied contact points, you become this highly reactive problem solver capable of handling the actual chaos of a real match. You finally stop penalizing yourself for an ugly swing, and you start rewarding yourself for functional, effective problem solving when the pressure is on. Which brings us to Section 3, the modern aggressive hybrid, the new player prototype. This massive shift in scientific understanding has birthed an entirely new breed of competitor. In the past, it was pretty simple, right? You were either an aggressive baseliner who hit huge, or you're a counterpuncher who just ran everything down. Well, not anymore. Today's elite player dedicates about 30% of their game to raw, aggressive power to dictate play. But look at the incredible symmetry in the rest of their skill set. 25% is dedicated to scrambling defense. Another 25% goes to tactical variation, killer slices and drop shots. And the final 20% is the transition game, moving seamlessly up to the net. They blend offensive firepower with scrambling defense and tactical nuance in a way that just perfectly mirrors the adaptability demanded by dynamic systems theory. Having this multidimensional toolkit means they are never trapped playing just one style. It makes them incredibly, almost frustratingly difficult to break down strategically. All right. On to Section 4, the mechanics of hybrid strings, engineering versatility. Now, to play this highly adaptable, multi-dimensional style, you simply cannot use one-dimensional equipment. It just doesn't work. Physically blending different string materials actually engineers the exact versatility this hybrid player needs. When you weigh the trade-offs, a full polyester setup gives you massive spin potential, but the power delivery and comfort drop off a cliff, which can be totally exhausting over a grueling 3-set match. On the flip side, a traditional gut and poly hybrid fixes that comfort issue beautifully, but
It can sometimes lack that aggressive, nasty bite you need for today's heavy baseline exchanges. But then we have the absolute sweet spot, the poly-poly hybrid. By mixing a shaped, aggressive polyester on the main strings with a smoother, softer polyester on the cross strings, players are basically finding the holy grail of setups. You get elite spin potential, dynamic power delivery, and way improved comfort. It is literally hybrid equipment specifically engineered to enhance the performance of the hybrid athlete.
Equipment guru Roman Prokis points out exactly why this specific setup is just taking over the professional tours right now. The poly-poly hybrid creates this beautifully tailored stiffness across the entire string bed. The smooth cross strings act almost like tiny little ball bearings. They allow the shaped main strings to slide upon impact and then violently snap back into place. That enhanced snapback is exactly what generates the massive spin required to hit an aggressive, dipping passing shot while you're on the dead run. Plus, because both materials are polyester, they maintain their tension harmoniously under the brutal, heavy impacts of modern baseline exchanges. It gives aggressive baseliners the dynamic, resilient tension they absolutely need to absorb a massive shot and then instantly counterattack with huge pace of their own.
Finally, Section 5, Building Multidimensional Court Performance, Taking It to the Court. So we have the theory, we know the player profile, and we've got the gear. Now, how do we actually apply all this dense sports science to your weekend matches? First things first, it is time to stop popping expensive strings on robotic basket drills that simply do not translate to winning. Instead, vary your practice feeds. Have your hitting partner feed balls with completely random spins, heights, and depths. You want to actively force your brain to self-organize. Second, blend your footwork. Don't isolate your offensive and defensive drills. Combine them dynamically. Hit a heavy attacking forehand, scramble back rapidly for a defensive lob, and then immediately transition forward for a put-away volley. And third, seriously, test a hybrid string setup. If your game is evolving to be more versatile and unpredictable, your racket's engine absolutely needs to match that ambition.
I want to leave you with this one provocative thought to challenge how you approach your very next session. Ask yourself, are you practicing for a perfect laboratory, or are you actually training for a dynamic system? Because I promise you, if you aren't training for chaos, you simply aren't ready for the reality of the match. Embrace the variability, upgrade your setup to support your adaptability, and please stop trying to be a machine. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this completely changes how you view your time on the court.